What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm the Reel Jussy.
I'm Peter Parkour.
I'm JustZack.
And we are the Distorted Theorists. So guys, welcome back to our first episode of Critical Reroll, where we are about to deep dive into episodes 1 through 5 and basically break down some characters, break down Matt Mercer's storytelling, what we think is going to happen, and let's get into this. Right away, we open up with Imogen and Ladna traveling, I guess, into the spires via cable car. So let's start with Imogen. How are you liking her character so far? Tell us what she is.
Yeah, so Imogen is played by Laura Bailey.
Yep.
She is a human. I mean, at this point, we don't really know what she is, but we do find out through the episode that she is a human sorcerer with a weird telepathic ability. Her whole thing right now is that she's trying to understand more about why she is the way she is.
That's right.
And
Much aren't we all?
We all try to figure it out. And then, of course, she's accompanied by Ladna, who we first meet, who is?
Ladna is played by Marisha Ray. She's like a sorcerer,
Dead witch lady.
dead witch thing critter. Through as time goes on, we find a little bit more about her. She is dead. She's dead, and she's inhabited by the voice of D.
Who definitely going to touch on that.
If anyone's really paid attention to any of the first campaign of Critical Role with Vox Machina, we don't know. We don't know, but I mean, Dee Briarwood, it could be Lady Delilah Briarwood, who featured heavily in the Legends of Vox Machina on Amazon Prime.
So, what was Delilah Briarwood's big hoopla, I guess, in campaign 1? Because I didn't really see it, but I didn't get a chance at that. I wasn't into D&D at this time, but just give us a little background, just on Dee. Like, what's her thing?
So you did see Legends of Vox Machina, the animated series.
Yep.
So Lady Briarwood, Delilah Briarwood, is a necromancer. She is someone, along with her husband Silas, who is a vampire.
Okay.
Serve Vecna, who is the whispered one, the big bad lich boy.
Okay, cool.
And she basically was took control of Whitestone. In campaign 1, Percy DeRello, played by Taliesin Jaffe. Yeah. That's like his big bag, because he was originally the heir of Whitestone. They came in, killed his family, tortured the shit out of him. And kind of started that whole thing. So
really, then, this Delilah Briarwood being in Ladna's head, and again, we will touch on that later, but, like, do we have any idea how she got there?
So
we don't know that it's Delilah.
We don't know.
Fair enough. It's Dee. I understood.
But one thing that did happen in campaign 1, which you wouldn't know yet because it didn't touch on the animated series, is Delilah actually has clones that she made of herself that she transports her soul into.
See, and I wouldn't know that. See, there you go. So this is why we brought this guy, folks. No. So that's good. No, I mean, like, and that adds some intrigue to Ladna's character too, because we're going to definitely see that somewhere along the line in the campaign.
Yeah, she has a little pate and all that.
But I mean, so they're in the cable car. So we find those in the cable car. We don't know why they're together right now. We'll shelf that. Next up, we find Ashton, who is a Earth Genasi, correct?
He's a punk Earth Genasi.
Yeah.
He's got crystal hair, and he's a dick.
And he got the plate. He has like a...
I'm gonna go out and say it.
Yep.
I don't like him.
Well, why don't you like him? Okay, so he's an Earth Genasi. He got a big friggin' hammer. He's, like you said, a punk. He's a bit like got a chip on the shoulder type thing. So when we meet him, did you get that feeling right away, or did you like over time did you hate him?
No, he's gotten a little bit more in my good books. At the time of filming this, we are up to episode 15. He's gotten a little bit better in my books, but he's, for those that have watched campaign 1 and 2, not so much campaign 1 with Taliesin, but he's just this angsty. All I want to do is drink.
Go
and gamble.
Gamble.
I do know you have not finished all of campaign 2.
No, I know. There's more that happens.
There is another person. There is another character that actually Taliesin does play in campaign 2 at one point, who is named Caduceus Clay, and he is very much a hippie. And literally drinks tea made from dead people. That's his thing.
Ooh,
but see, that makes sense for all the characters that Taliesin has played, because it's a polar opposite. It's easy to do a polar opposite of something that you're used to playing. And I'm not saying anything against Taliesin Jaffe. I'm not saying anything. He's an excellent at what he does. He does Percy Briarwood well. He does
so good, Molly
Mock. Briarwood. Percy, but
keep it real.
And he does well as Molly Mock in campaign 2 for the very little that I've seen. But it's just I think it's just another. It's Will Ferrell playing Will Ferrell.
So switching gears, and let's. So we have Ashton switching gears. We get him partnered, I guess. Partner with FCG, which is also Fresh Cut Grass, which is an automaton. So Zach, what do you think? Like, why do you have this punk Earth Genasi and then all of a sudden this wacky automaton? Why do you think they did that for contrast?
So
and tell us about FCG.
So FCG is an automaton. He is, when we find out throughout more of the episodes, a weirdly like self-talking, moving, actually autonomous automaton, because everyone else is really weirded out by that.
And whose voice?
Sam Riegel. Sam always plays small people. He played Scanlan Shorthalt, who was Gnome Bard in Vox Machina in Campaign 1. He played Not in Campaign 2, as well as another character in Veth Renato. In Campaign 2 as well. I won't want to do too many spoilers for that.
So what? But why the automaton? Why pair those two? Do you think?
Sam actually always pairs off with someone whenever he starts. In Campaign 1, it was him and Grog, the Goliath. In Campaign 2, it was him and Liam.
He paired off with another barbarian?
So he likes to be protected, is what you're saying.
Well, no, in Campaign 2, he was not, who was a rogue who paired off with Caleb, who was a PTSD riddled sorcerer, or wizard, sorry.
Smelly wizard.
And FCG for me right now, and of course we'll get into this, is that he has that, the brain shield, we'll call it. We don't know what's going on with him yet, because I think his story is going to be bigger than we think.
Sam's every campaign, Sam always has this other thing that comes out, and it's going to be he's always funny, and he always is my favorite character, but he will always have something that makes you really sad later on.
His wrong quotes get me all the time.
Oh
fables.
So with those, we got Ladna and Imogen are in the cable car. We switch over. Ashen and FCG are somewhere in the Crook House. Which is another spot in this campaign. And then we have the arrival via airship, if I'm not mistaken, of Fern, Orem, and Dorian. Now, I do know, I'll let you take this one, start off there from a previous campaign or a one-shot, correct?
Yeah, Exandria Unlimited, there you go. Which they did 7 or 10 episodes. Six?
Okay.
None of those.
None of those numbers.
Give or take a few episodes.
They did a small short series in between Campaign 2 and Campaign 3. So they are...
Well, let's start. Let's start with Fern. Introduce who plays her, who she is, and then we'll switch over.
She's played by Ashley Johnson. So she is a satyr. I don't know if they use another word for her because I know Matt has added Loxodons or a different name.
And she has hooves and stuff. She's very...
She's from the Fae. She's a goat person.
Right? She's from the Feywild. So yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
I love
So she is as we know from Exandria Unlimited, she is a fire druid. So she has the ability... She can change shape, but mostly is around burning things.
She's got Mister.
She got Mister, who's a little fire elemental in the shape of a monkey.
Yeah. And then she's accompanied, like I said, switching over to Orem, which is played by Liam O'Brien. So
and Orem is he's a halfling fighter. And I'm getting all the bad ones.
No. What's his position? Do you think? What are you feeling when you first meet him, and what's his position?
He's the glue. He is, and I'm not saying that. When I mentioned that he's the. I'm getting all the bad ones. He's another character that I find in this campaign. We know where, from what we've seen so far, we know where his story is coming from. A previous Vox Machina character has given him a job to come to.
Personally, I've found he's very grounded.
Yes.
Not much whimsical. He's very much I am a fighter. I will take the hits, and that's kind of what he does. And no offense to the character. I mean, you play what you play.
Liam does it well, but he's just. When you've got all these other zany characters that are going around, we've got this, and this is cool. We've got the goat person, we've got the dead person, we've got the robot, we've got you.
He's the voice of reason.
And then, completely normal. And if I may, and then of course the third piece to that puzzle was Dorian. I'm going to say it right now, my favorite character in this campaign so far, and he is an Air Genasi, and he's played by Robbie Damon, which is apparently a feature, we'll say, to the normal crew of bandits. So where did he come from? Well, he was in Alexandria Unlimited as well, obviously.
Alexandria. Alexandria is the
keep
world.
It real, keep it real. But why do you think they chose to feature him first.
Because he did awesome in
Yes.
EXU. He was one of my favorite characters. There was an interaction between himself and another character in EXU where they they had to basically kind of muddle their way into another building, and it was the whole exchange was too funny for me. I was working on my fence, and I was buckled over laughing while I was listening to it.
So at this point, we've met the characters, I'll say, but we do get some insight. So basically, after all the characters come together...
I missed one. Kind of.
Oh, I'm getting there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm getting there. As anyone who's watched the campaign knows, we have these characters all from different walks of life, brought together by what I thought was really cool by Matt Mercer's storytelling, was a flash of blue light happens in the street, and all of a sudden we see chairs, tables, rugs come to life and start attacking
our guest,
and of course our guest, and then our band of heroes come together. So like, what do you guys think of that? Like, has that ever happened in a campaign where like furniture and stuff come to life?
Well, that wouldn't have to say.
Yeah?
I mean, mimics are a thing, but which they did fight one later on. But the it's starting a campaign is always hard, trying to figure out like how to bring all these different groups of people.
And I thought that was very, very clever.
Yeah, no, it is.
And it was the greatest segue for who you were just about to touch on. Sir Bertrand Bell arrives, and he is played by
Travis Willingham.
Yeah,
and he is
fantastic.
He's so good. Like, Travis really kind of stepped into his own when he's bang Grog Strong Jaw. Like, it was easy to play that character because it was just I made it, Jed. Come on. Like, it was very easy for him to play that. And then when he stepped into Caleb Ford in campaign 2, I didn't think it was that much of a stretch for him because Travis is a very accomplished voice actor. He's done a ton of characters in a lot of other shows and video games and whatnot. Yeah. And I found that when he did Ford, it was just a deep Southern accent. So I didn't think it was much. But
in campaign 2, he does eventually reveal that he's actually faking that accent. Ford's character is actually.
I love it.
So he actually has a very I can't do British accent, but a very noble sounding voice. But his captain, the one that he said he was looking for, Vandrin, I believe his name is. Had that accent. He was very commanding, very strong presence. So when he went out on his own, he wanted to have that presence with him. And actually, Caleb detected that in episode 80, so something far down the line.
Okay.
Now, so obviously, at this point, we have our band of characters have been presented to us in the campaign at that point. When it comes to backgrounds, we know very little in the beginning. We do know that FCG was created by someone named Dancer.
Yep.
His crew of other automatons, so it sounds like, were destroyed or something near a cave.
Yeah, something.
So we do know that. We do know Orem is here for the purpose of meeting someone called Brescio the Anger, who had dealings with his where he's from. I'm not sure you know that offhand.
Zephyr.
And we all know Zephyr.
Zephyrah.
Yeah, Zephyrah. We know that he was sent by the voice of the Tempest, which is Keyleth. And where is she from?
She's
from Zephyrah.
Yeah, I mean, in the realm of campaigns, where is she from?
She's from campaign 1. She's from the Legend of Vox Machina.
Right. So that is a huge tie right there.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of ties to campaign 1 in these characters.
That just kind of goes into what Matt's doing here. He's able to. This is a world that he's created. This massive planet and continents and everything. Yeah. He's able to cherry pick because we've heard mentions of Vox Machina. We haven't really heard anything from campaign 2. I'm not sure that we will, but who's to say that we will or won't?
And even saying that, Orem and Ladna are from Taldore. Yeah. So that's another big world building thing. We have. Well, like you said, Bertrand Bell was from a previous.
He's from the Search for Grog. He's in Vasselheim. Yeah, was where he originated from.
He was also in the Search for Bob.
Search for Bob. Well, Search for Grog and Bob were a continuation from.
And then what propels the story forward, which is Bertrand Bell ultimately, is he gathers our group together, asks if they are looking for some work, and they head to see a new character introduced, which is Esteros. And he's an older, dignified orc. So,
which is weird to see.
And you know what? And in episode 1 clues up with him rushing our party. So at the end of
all episode 1.
Yeah, that's pretty much all episode 1. So at the end of episode 1, if I may, I guess I'll throw it over to you. when he rushes the team and the episode ends, what were your feelings when you...
Well, I didn't know what was going on because when it happened, and again, trying to remember all the places and the names of everything from campaigns 1 and 2, of which I'm not finished either of them. I'm trying, guys, but there's 3 campaigns to watch.
Yeah.
I was trying to see, because the name sounded familiar to me, if this was the orc that Grog fought in the pits of whatever that city was, and he ripped his lip off. Because that's what I was hoping that they would say, like, as you notice, he's got a missing lip. He didn't say that, but I was hoping that there was going to be something to that. Because when he rushed him, I was like, there's ties that this is what it was.
Well, he held his own.
Oh,
I mean,
he's an orc.
Like at the end, he called the fight off. Because he knew, I assume he felt that the team was well versed. So they were okay.
It was more of a test. We found out later.
Excuse me. Now, he does mention the governing body of Drussar, the Chande Quorum. He has his suspicions that they have some stuff going on behind the scenes, and he does seem to want to investigate, and he feels our team, or I say our team, but the ones we're watching are the ones to do so, do you know?
Yeah, he's a very humanitarian character. And it
lives in a mansion full of traps.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, like you would.
Yeah.
If I had a mansion, I'd have traps. But the reason that I'm a big fan of Escherash's character is because of something that I've run to it can happen in other campaigns, not just something that you're playing. It's not that he's the voice of reason; he's the voice of direction. Like, all right, this is what we're doing, and this is how we're going to move forward. D&D is a game, really and truly, where player choice matters a lot, and in some respects, if players are allowed to kind of do their own thing, I'm not saying bad things can happen to it, but sometimes stories can get off the rails.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, Escharosh is just like, yes, this is what we're going to do, because a lot of the characters throughout episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and onward are like, we should go check in with him. He's their save point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Part of this, though, was that, like, this is why Travis played Bertrand Bell and was introduced the way he was because he was the person that brought them to Escharosh and was worked on.
That was his position.
Him and
so just to switch up a little bit, now we know about Drussar, and they have the spires and stuff, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I always get lost sometimes with, Matt, he's firing names at you left, right, and center. So just give me a quick, like, where are we in setting was, and the spires, and the name of the city, and all that stuff?
So the spire names, I know there's like 4 of them. I don't know the names of them all.
It's all
good. So we are based in Drussar, which is in Marquette, which is the continent that we have not really seen much in the previous campaigns. We saw a little bit in campaign 1, where there was a whole go get Scanlan, because he was a drug dealer, basically.
Okay.
It's a family show, really.
Yeah. And then there was also Gilmore from Gilmore's Glorious Goods is also from Marquette.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. That's all we really know.
And basically what we can imagine from this place, Drussar is like full of, there's about 5 spires, I think, like
there's
projecting.
5 spires and there's a jungle beneath.
Yeah, and then there's a jungle and stuff below, which apparently has danger, so Escharosh says.
Yeah.
But then we get a really cool thing. Once everyone's introduced and all that stuff, Laudna brings up Pate de Rolo. And Pete, I know you know what that's a reference to, so let the viewers know, how shocked were you when she introduced that, and what did you think of that?
Well, that was the thing, because again, at this point, I wasn't a fan of Laudna. She just came into it, and I was like, okay, and she starts talking, and I was like, and I've got my friend Pate de Rolo. And I was like, oh,
who is Pate de Rolo?
We don't know.
Pate is it's like a it's a dead... Yeah. What I don't.
It was a rat with a bird skull on it that she controls with like a marionette puppet style.
But when she mentioned that it was Pate de Rolo, and I think
Orum
also knows the word.
Yeah.
So this was before we kind of knew where Laudna came from, and then we knew kind of a little bit more like, I was in Whitestone, the Briarwoods were there, I was dead, and then I wasn't, and now I got this voice in my head as time went on. So, like, Pate was almost like the segue into figure out a little more who Laudna was.
And he actually dropped the name Vox Machina at that time.
Yeah,
and I think Orum might have caught wind, but everyone else was like, okay,
Bertrand brought up...
Who did I say, sorry?
Orum.
Oh, sorry, Bertrand.
Bertrand brought up that, like, so Bertrand Bell is... when you introduced him back in Search for Grog, which I'm pretty sure happened, like, when he was in his 30s, so, like, 30 years ago, he was very much a... not unless you're a liar, but someone who over-exaggerates their accomplishments and all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
you know, like he'd be like, you know, I'm a member of Vox Machina and all this. So then Orm had no idea who he was, even though he serves one of the members of Vox Machina.
Yeah, and then after that, once you know we learn about that and we get some more history of more Bertrand Bell a little bit.
Yep.
Then of course we have Estros kind of sends him on a little, I call it a throwaway mission, basically to the Prajaj Textiles. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And you know, there's a bit of back and forth. We won't get into it too much here. Like, you know, the character, like, oh, we see this one, we see that one, one's leaving work, whatever. Yeah. But what we do know is they do find some brimstone residue. Yeah. And what is that used for? And what are we thinking that's going to play into?
So brimstone is used mainly in the how airships fly. It's from
like the magic or
it's from the Age of Arcanum, apparently, where Arcanum. Where they had like flying cities and shit like that, and it's now used for airships.
And I think FCG was the one actually who knew that, so my brain automatically went to like maybe he was a part of mining it or something.
Or it powers him.
Or that. Yeah. Maybe there's one somewhere in there that we don't know about. So
we have no idea.
And they did the one thing you're not supposed to do.
Split the party.
They split the party.
Yeah. Now the team name's great though.
But why would tell us the team names and why would they do that?
They had Team Backdoor and Team Full Frontal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it works out because I mean, like the improv works really well with this group. They've been doing it for 7 years at this point. But when they're like, we're just gonna do this, like, no.
Yeah. So we had.
What happens when you split the party, Justin?
People die. People die. But you know what?
Some tension here.
That's okay. But the party, they accomplish their mission. They get back to Estros and they report what they found, which is there was some negligence there or whatever. But they ended up.
No. That's not actually what happened in that episode.
Oh, they went to the hotel area first.
So what happened was...
My apologies. I totally forgot that part.
So there was a very, very important part because it leads into a very important moment.
Hashtag keep it real.
So the whole thing was that they were looking into Prajaj Textiles because this was directly related to Lord Esteros' business.
Right.
And it was a very near and dear to his heart. It's kind of where it started.
Yep.
So one of the people there, basically the manager, I don't know if that's actually her title, but she was sketchy. She was the one that looked like it was an inside job of stealing things.
Yes.
They found evidence.
What was her name?
Dana?
Dennis or something? Yeah.
Dana?
Dennis.
So they found proof that like she was fudging the ledgers, seeing like it wasn't that much that was stolen, these kind of things.
And then they followed her.
They followed her to an inn where she did spot them twice. I think she spotted them once when Imogen was following, but she had already met Imogen, so she kind of played it off.
Right.
Then she saw them again in the bar. It was her and Bertrand that went to follow. Everyone else was trying to catch up.
Yeah, and is that when they entered or heard the gurgling?
Yeah, so they went upstairs. So everyone else caught up because everyone has the ability to talk with their mind, especially Imogen.
Yeah.
Which was fucking hilarious with Bertrand being told like, "I'm sitting down." Nothing yet. Nothing here. So then they went upstairs.
Well, it sounds basically we were segued into it sounds like someone's choking.
Yeah.
And they crash in the room.
Yeah.
And they break in and we kind of skip ahead a little bit, but I don't mind saying his name. They see and lay eyes on
a gross little dwarf named Duggar. And so at the time they don't know who he is. They're just like, stop. And he goes,
And then he calls his children, which are shade creepers. But a different kind of shade creepers. Maybe you guys have witnessed it before, but these ones have a fire element to them when they're destroyed, which
they die and they go.
Yeah, which apparently is not seen before, so I've heard.
We found out that Imogen and Lana are staying with a woman named Zidana. And she's an old woman. But they had actually killed some shade creepers that did the exact same kind of thing in her home as well. But these apparently are common pests attributed to the Feywild that don't normally burst into flames.
So I guess what do we think they are gonna? Why are these special? Where did they come from?
Well, that's the thing. They tunneled through the wall, and that's where I'm pretty sure Duggar went through. He was like, "My children here," whoop, and he went out. And that was the last we saw of him.
He cast darkness. We actually didn't know where he went.
So he kind of disappeared. So the team regroups at that point. I think they kind of settle in, okay, we have some information here. And they kind of skitter off and do their own thing. Like maybe some are going to rest, some go to sleep. And speaking of going to sleep, at the end of episode 3, or towards the end of episode 3, Imogen has one of her dreams about the Red Storm.
Her freakouts.
And she sees Bertrand Bell in trouble.
No, she doesn't see Bertrand.
She's in trouble.
She sees... she passes a man.
Yeah,
a silhouette.
A distinguished man. Yeah, looking very like distinguished, and he walks calmly into this red storm.
The veil,
right. Whatever that is.
And at the same time is where Duggar meets Bertrand in the alley, and
and gives him little jabs.
Yeah,
and we lose Bertrand.
We lose Bertrand Bell. So he was. I think Dorian feels the most upset about this, guilty about it, I guess, because they were having a conversation.
Yeah, and he let him go.
He went to go off by himself because he pretended to know where Imogen and them would find out.
For me, and this is where I may step in a little bit. It's for me. This is my first time realizing in D&D that someone can die in the story. No one is safe. Exactly.
No one is safe. Yeah.
So I was actually emotionally like, oh shit, like what's going to happen to Travis Willingham? And like I think you guys were a little more teary, like this happens sometimes. But I was kind of
I was like,
oh, were you?
No, that was not expected. It has happened I think a couple times in each campaign, but that's about it. Okay. And it's usually much later on. But this was planned. This was a planned exit for. Well,
we find out. We know that now.
Matt has confirmed it.
But then, right after that, episode 4 opens up. We have Orm discovers the body. Well, Orm and others, but Orm really identifies the puncture wounds because he was attacked by the same dagger. So he puts 2 and 2 together. Yep. They are like, we need to find the killer, and they find tunnels that lead under Dressar, where it looks like Duggar, the Shade Creepers, have been using for transportation, moving around, and that's how they're able to end up everywhere. Now, I do believe that they go on the hunt for Duggar, and through the jigs and the reels, and they traverse a lot, so we will pan over that, but they end up talking to a group called the Hubbard Corsairs, which are some kind of behind-the-scenes militia group, from what I gather. So what are their purpose? What is their purpose? And do you think anyway?
Well,
because they're like a Robin Hood type band, aren't they not?
Kind of.
Robin rich, give to the poor.
But they don't really do a lot more, save for kind of a segue into this to kind of give more information for Duggar.
Right. Which they do obtain.
It was kind of interesting how they came about once they figured out the information that they needed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like, oh, we're going to find them. Cool. They're here for the laughter, and then they take them out. Then they were like, we're here for the laughter. Like, so they got just kind of like, you came to the wrong neighborhood.
They got kind of fucked over there by the Shadowbaker.
Yes,
because he
doesn't like pies.
Well, he doesn't like pies, and he also was annoyed that Imogen had tried to read his mind. So,
but in the end, he gives them the information that they may need. They do find Duggar.
Yeah,
they take Duggar down, but he is not the end all be all. And we know that later, and we will touch on that in a later episode. But from there, they take Bertrand's body as the next part. They send that off to White Stone.
Yep.
So that's a cool tie back to Vox Machina and all that stuff again. Yeah. Then we have Orm and Estros' relationship does start to develop. He finds out, okay, I'm going to get you an appointment with the Anger, so to speak, but he's hurting right now due to a battle, and we're all like, whoa, what is that all about?
Similar attack to what Keela had gone under.
The cool part I like, and maybe you can remember some of this, is we do have them go under one of the spires where I guess like there's, it opens up into a market where, there's many wares and stuff like that. So like in these campaigns, is there often stuff where they go and buy stuff like that? Like
shopping episodes.
Yeah, so what kind of happens there? And like what kind of dynamic do we see when someone gets a cool item and stuff like that?
It really depends. Not a whole lot. It's usually fun to see what kind of characters Matt has created. There's some that are hilarious. Some are clearly like ad hoc, like here's a guy and way better.
His name is Murphy.
Yeah,
and he
usually
sells
better than that, but
potions.
But we got to meet a couple interesting characters in the market.
Yeah. So and then, I guess from the market is where the Hubbard Corsairs are, led by Yash Mangal, and he's like the main forefront guy, and we see.
Well, he's the main guy whenever they said like, so you're the boss, like there's no bosses here, but you're the one talking, but there's no bosses here, I'm just talking.
But we do notice a cloaked figure at the time. We don't know who he is, but he does come up later. He is also part of the Hubbard Corsairs. Do you know who I'm talking about? We won't say no names in this episode.
No, I'm forgetting.
Okay, no, so you know who I'm talking about? Okay, all right, fair enough. And then we get Imogen talking a little bit about it, because they ask like, put up who you love, you know what I mean? Like, because as collateral in case you fuck us over, basically.
Yeah.
And Imogen, oddly enough, puts up her dad, which she later says she has a very little relationship with. So my brain went to, is she trying to like if there is collateral and her dad did get off, that she wouldn't be too upset. Like, what do you think? Did you take away anything?
I think it was more so just at that point, it was like, well, who's going to do it? Because no one else is like,
Everyone was like, oh, we don't have people we care about.
Like Fern was like, there's my Nona, but she's on a different plane of existence. You can't get to her, so it ain't going to work.
Well, and then, from there, we have the big part I liked about, and this is something I think is just going to have a bigger part later, is when we see Ashton brings the group to Advic, which is a trader, and they get the sending stones. Is there items like that in the other campaigns? Like where?
Oh yeah.
Sending stones.
But they're made up though, are they? Or
no, everything's made up. But
fair enough.
They're all
sounds like a
normal.
made up word. All words are made up.
They're all normal D&D items. Sending stone, and I think they have a rod of movability or movable rod. Movable rod. Rod of movability. A movable rod, but sending stones are fairly common. They're used for just communication.
And I guess at the culmination of episode 1 to 5, our party is now they're now refreshed.
Yes,
they've spent their money that they've found, and they have their items, they have their potions, and basically Estros has put a bounty on Bertrand Bell's killer, and the team is gearing up to figure out what the fuck is going on in Drusar. And final thoughts on episode 1 to 5.
Well, you didn't
finish it.
You didn't finish it.
Why?
Yeah.
What?
They fight Duggar in episode 5.
Oh, we brushed over that, so I was just gonna
Why would you brush
that was
over
the
that?
best part of episode 1 to 5. This gross little flame demon.
I'm but a mere host, ladies and gentlemen. All right, go into the fight.
That was the thing, because when they found out where it was, when they'd gone to the Whispering Spire, what was
Whispering Spire?
Window Wall?
Windowed Wall,
Window
yes.
Wall.
That was the hotel when they basically successfully bribed and got information. Like, oh, we're going to go and check out his room and see if there's anything they can find.
Yeah.
And then some wilders came by and like, oh, we got to go in. They weren't going to do it. And then they happened to get up in the room and...
Oh, yeah, and Duggar squeezes out from the wall.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, that's fine. It
smells
that's gross in here.
Fern was
and then they
right
had
in
this,
the hole.
like...
Actually, when they showed up there, I was picturing... I already had it in my mind that... Because the way they were like, there's like stuff knocked over and like it looks like something dissolved there. I was like, this sounds cocoonish to me. So I don't know. But
then this weird sock of Duggar just kind of...
Yeah.
I picture... like Ivan Ooze from Power Rangers.
That's all you, buddy.
Yeah.
Alex Mack? I don't know.
But yeah, they do take down Duggar, and having said that, now that I remember on, we find out that Fern, which you may be able to shed some light on yourself, she has something called a Stonky's ring, which I thought was a made-up word, but what does that do, and where did she get it?
I don't actually know what it does, but I do know she bought it in Exandria Unlimited from Gilmore.
No one knew what it did.
Yeah.
I got the Stonky's ring, and she's... Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like the name of it.
Okay, so it did come up later.
Yeah.
And then, once the battle's over, they realize Duggar is not the big threat, and Estros still wants to find...
Campaign over.
Yeah, well, he's not the big threat, it's just they killed him and they don't really know...
unanswered questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of
and Estros knows there's a lot of unanswered questions that he's going to utilize his team to do...
We did gloss over the unanswered questions, which was Duggar, and the reason why they went to the Corsairs was Duggar actually used to work with the Corsairs. He used to be a carpenter. He fell in some hard times. He went and apparently joined a thieves guild. And then people thought he got into drugs or something like that because he started looking brown suit because he started looking really sick. Which I think brown suit is what Scanlan sold. Anyways, but he started looking really sickly, and then so apparently he was a normal member of society, and now he's a weird slime boy that comes out of holes and.
And how did we get there? Well, I guess you might just have to stick around for our next breakdown. But, like I said, sorry, I skipped the jump to gun. What do you think of episodes 1 to 5? How do you like the campaign thus far? And where are we going?
It started off slow. And I mean, like, every campaign's going to do that because you're being introduced to everything. I was like, oh, hello, how are you? This is my name tag. You know, you're going to go through those moments. And no one trusts each other. You've got your little pods, so everyone's trying to figure so it's not a group yet. Mm-hmm. But... this was the first time that I experienced it where another character came in and be like, oh, yes, we shall band together to do something.
Yeah.
And anyways, didn't we do...
Interesting.
And then just died and just...
That was a gut wrench, man. I remember jaw drop when I ended that episode. But what about yourself? Like, I know you've witnessed all of them, you've DM'd yourself. Yeah. Episodes 1 to 5, give me your initial thoughts. What you thought coming out of these?
I thought it was really good. I honestly really enjoyed how, like, using that mechanic, like you said, to bring the group together. I think all the characters were really fun. I think you're a bit harder on Ashton than I would be, but we did see a little bit of his, like, underground know-how with like talking to the Corsairs, going and talk to like I think one in the market Advic was like someone he had to pass with, so you're seeing a little bit of sketchiness. Without
Ashton, I don't think they'd be able to navigate the city the same.
Yeah, they wouldn't have. They'd be a bunch of idiots kind of walking through the city because none of them have, I'll say, city experience. Like Ferd's, none of them. None of them have like, I'll say, underground or city experience. They're all like good, noble citizens, like walking around, like hello friends, and he's like, no, this guy's an asshole.
It's not Vex. It's not Vax. It's not Grog. They're all relatively good people.
Yeah, and speaking for myself, someone who this is my first campaign I've ever witnessed from Critical Role, because you guys, gladly enough, brought me on to D&D, and I was like, dumbfounded as I am now to what a storyteller can actually make you feel. And I think that is a little bit of a lost art, but I guess D&D keeps that alive, which I really enjoyed. Anything else you want to say?
Not really. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing where the campaign goes. Same. I mean, stick around because we're going to have episodes 2 and 3 coming up shortly, following 6 and 10 and 11 and 15.
Yeah, our episode 2 and 3. He's just Zach. But guys, that was episode 1 of Critical Reroll. Did you guys have fun today?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. We will hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you want to see more from us on Critical Reroll. Take us out, Pete.
Yep, so anyways, I am Peter Parkour.
I'm the Reel Jussy.
I'm JustZack.
And like we always say around here,
keep it real.
Keep it real.